Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. This episode is brought to you by The Wellness Paradigm, a holistic health coaching company shifting the way that women understand and heal their bodies. Through bioenergetic testing, functional lab testing, and functional nutrition, we uncover what traditional approaches often overlook so you can stop guessing, start healing, and finally feel like yourself again. No more one size fits all protocols, just real answers, deep rooted healing, and the clarity and confidence you deserve to feel incredible. It's time to shift the paradigm of women's health. Now, on to our show. And good afternoon, Elle.
Good afternoon. How are you, Shannon?
I'm great, and I'm happy to have you here. I think we'll have an incredible conversation. Elle is currently serving as Miss Washington, USA, and she's also a very accomplished law firm owner as well. I think, she has this interesting perspective on not only being a women in pageants, but also being, a law owner and all the things that come with both those. So I'm going to just open the floor to you. I'd love to know a little bit more on your story, how you got into kind of this law, being a business owner, but also pageantry.
Oh, okay. So from the beginning, huh? How much time do you have?
Right.
No. I live in Washington State, obviously, Miss Washington. I grew up in West Seattle, went to West Seattle High School, Madison Middle School, so schools that were local to that area. Um, After I graduated high school, I attended Washington State University and got my master's at Johns Hopkins and then went to law school. But before I went to law school, I was a teacher. So I taught sixth, seventh, and eighth grade special education in both San Antonio and also Seattle public schools. So that was certainly a eye-opening experience for me. People always ask me, well, you were formerly a teacher. How did you become a lawyer? Right.
Yeah.
So when I was at Washington State University, I worked as a mentor to freshman students who were coming in who attended high schools in impoverished areas. Washington State University at the time recognized that students who attended schools in impoverished areas were less likely to matriculate through um, their undergraduate degree. So they created this program where they essentially created a network around them to help and support them through their undergrad career to better ensure that they or increase the likelihood that they matriculated through undergrad. So I had a group of students that I was responsible for, and my job was to monitor their GPAs, their progress, connect them to tutoring services and different kinds of services on campus. Um, to help them succeed. And so it was during this time where I was like, well, although I love this work that I'm doing, all of this seems very reactive to me. Um, and the reason why we're doing this is because there's an issue with public education, especially in impoverished areas. So I'm thinking in my head, what can I do to get ahead of that in a way where maybe, people like me won't be needed in the future? And so it was then that I had the thought, well, I would like to go into education policy. And so I realized that in order to do that, I didn't necessarily have to go to law school, but I wanted to have that legal training and that in-depth knowledge of the law, at least have that basis. Um, and I got to law school, um, did some internships, worked as a Rule 9 prosecutor, and I was like, well, I'm actually a litigator and I cannot sit behind a desk. It's not for me. And so I always tell people, that's what my passion for education is what got me to law school, but it's not what kept me there ultimately.
Mhm.
Um, I do still keep my hand in education now. I teach trial advocacy across the United States to attorneys. Um, and so out of law school, I worked at a law firm for about a year. And then I decided to go out on my own. And a lot of that decision had to do with the fact that I wasn't necessarily, as an associate at a law firm, in the position to help the kind of people that I wanted to help. And I didn't have the flexibility to take the kinds of cases that I want. If I wanted to offer like reduced fee services, I couldn't do that because it was not my law firm. So I stepped out on my own. That was about 4 or 5 years ago now. And Yeah, I have an office in Seattle. I have a location in Renton, as well, and things are going well.
Yeah, I as a business owner, it's always nice to have that flexibility to be able
Oh,
to work with the people you want to work with and be able to offer things that you can't in a corporate setting.
well, yeah, and I mean flexibility in more than one way, right? Because yes, I do now have the flexibility to work with who I want to, but I also have the flexibility and my time to be able to do things like compete in pageants, model in New York Fashion Week, Fashion Week, and teach trial advocacy, right?
Mhm.
So as it pertains to pageantry, I competed in my first pageant in 2019, and I was still in law school at that point. And my biggest thing was really my mental health, and making sure that law school and being an attorney was not my full personality. It's so easy to get wrapped up in what you do, and identifying who you are completely with your profession. And I didn't want to get into that. And especially in the legal field, like law school, being a lawyer, your time is so consumed by the law. And so for me, it was a promise I made to myself that, hey, I'm going to do something that I love outside of being a law student, outside of being a lawyer. I forget how pageantry actually fell into my lap and why I just had this crazy idea that that specific activity was going to be pageantry. um, but I decided to compete for the first time in 2019. Um, Competed again in 2022, maybe 2023, and took a break, and now I'm back. So and from there I've gotten modeling opportunities and things of that nature. So it's morphed into modeling, a little acting, but not too much of it. Um, and now here I am.
Yeah, that's such a, you said 2019. I'm like, so often I hear of people starting, when they're young. And
Yeah.
not only just older, but when you're in law school, already having like a million things going on. That's crazy. And so, obviously it's been successful, within
Yeah.
a few years of doing it. You went on to win Miss Washington, and I'd be curious because you probably have a lot of obligations, right? There's probably juggling a bunch of things, not only with being a law firm owner, but also doing obligations as Miss Washington. Like, how do you maintain, staying grounded? How do you take care of your health mentally and physically during this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is that when I carve out a chunk of time to either commit to my law practice or pageantry, I'm there, right? I'm in that space in that moment. And I think that I have a very good, generally work life balance. And I'm very present in everything that I do. So when I'm working, doing things at the firm, I put my best foot forward. But once I leave the office and I'm either at home or I'm, putting on my Miss Washington hat, doing appearances, um, that time that I clock out of the firm is the time that I clock out of the firm. And I think that is huge, especially in the legal field where you often find, work seeping into, time with family, time with friends. And I mean, that's my bigger answer, but to even achieve that requires so many other seemingly smaller things on my end. So for an example, if I actually want to, work a 8-hour workday, and obviously I still have to get things done, I still have, a lot of obligations. What does that mean in terms of, if I need to delegate, tasks to a staff member, or just time management generally, and also about like revenue, right? So if I'm, working an 8-hour day on this day, I also have to make sure that I can still maintain my firm with, what's being brought in, and, things of that nature, right? So there's so much backwards planning in order to maintain the balance that I have. I think also that I know myself very well, and I know indicators of when I'm overwhelmed. And I know what to do in those situations, right? Which is to take a step back, do some meditation, um, generally take care of self, do something that I love that's not, mentally labor intensive since my job is, labor intensive. I also work hard, but I play hard as well, right? It's like, so if I do vacation and things of that nature, I understand, I internalize, and I know that I have earned this. Um, and I think a lot of it also comes down to just having conversations with friends and family and say, hey, this is what I need. This is how I'm feeling. And really being surrounded by a community of people who are going to offer you that support and who know what you need when maybe you're too fatigued to communicate that. Right. So it's a multifaceted approach, but it works for me.
It's all about finding what works for you, you know?
Yes.
But we were chatting a little bit before this that so many people, so many clients I work with are very high achieving, many of them attorneys, and, they all feel a sense one way or another of burnout, or they felt it in the past. And it's hard when you're juggling a ton of different things.
Mhm.
And so, reminding yourself to pull back, meditation, all those things is really, really helpful. Are there any things in particular that you have found to be one, a game changer for you, but also two, maybe how the paradigm has shifted for you since, adding this next layer of pageantry and, winning and things like that? Like, have you had to shift any perspectives, any boundaries, any practices?
Oh, certainly. I mean, in terms of boundaries, that is a huge thing, especially in my line of work. I when I do, consultations and things like that with my clients, I'm like, well, yes, this is me getting to know your case and whether it's something that we can and want to help with, but it's also me interviewing you to see if you are going to be the best fit for us. Right. So, one thing I found is, you know, a lawyer's mental health is largely tied to their clients and the kinds of clients that they have. So during that process where I'm doing consultations, I'm also vetting them, right? Is this going to be a high stress client who is going to be, who may have more needs than, the client that you're typically used to working with? And for me, I've learned to be just very upfront with clients about what we can do, what to expect from us, because I want to make sure that this is a good fit for the both of us. Um, so one of the first things in terms of drawing boundaries is really aligning those expectations. And I found that if you're upfront with, potential clients about, what you can do, the kind of attorney you are, because all attorneys are not created equal in terms of what they expect regarding whether they're working around the clock or not. And one of the things that I tell my clients is, hey, I will not be available to you 24/7. These are our, hours. This is my availability. If that works for you, fine. If not, I think a firm might work, best for you. And, here are some referrals of, someone you can look into that more so aligns with um, your expectations. On that same note, I think just drawing boundaries with friends and family as well in terms of your capacity and the things that you are and are not able to do. I think a lot of the time as attorneys, just because of our jobs, we can get extremely overwhelmed, but also our friends and family might need us as well, right? And so sometimes it's just a matter of, hey, reminding them, hey, yes, I am an attorney, but I also have all these other things going on. I do also have a personal life. Like, I would love to help you, or I would love to be able to come to your dinner, or I would love to be able to come to this, celebration, but I'm just not able to do it at this time. And a lot of that goes back to what I told you earlier about just being in tune with and aligned with yourself and knowing those indicators when your body is telling you, hey, you're pushing me a little too hard, and knowing when to scale back. And I think that that has helped me tremendously because um, it not only helps you to ensure that you are going about this the correct way and prioritizing your mental health, but it's also indicating to others that you are setting boundaries with that, hey, these are her expectations. This is, either what I should or should not be doing based on what she's, expressed to me. And it doesn't put you in that situation where then you feel pressured if you already have that conversation with people. So I find that setting boundaries help.
Oh, it's one of the things we talk about a lot with women as far as their health is it's just they want to talk about nutrition or the movement or exercise, supplements. And I'm like, yes, but none of that's going to matter too much if you keep putting, if you don't have any boundaries on your on your life, it's making you
Yeah.
unhealthy. Um, for you and many high achieving women, it's difficult because more is equal success, right? Like we we value or we put our value in how much we can kind of achieve. And I'd be curious on, what success looks like for you now versus
Mhm.
maybe a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, one of the things that I really appreciate about myself is how I'm multifaceted. And because I have the boundaries and the balance that I have, I'm able to perform at a high level in everything that I've endeavored to do. And a lot of that has to do with also not overextending yourself and taking on an obligation that you can't necessarily hold, right? Um, but I think when it comes down to it, um, me being full multifaceted is my idea of success. And it's not, hey, I'm a very successful attorney, high achieving in that way, and that's what makes me successful. But I think it's more so a combination of things, right? A law firm that runs well, a law firm that has a good reputation, my pageantry as well, my, time in modeling, spending time with friends and family, and really making sure that when I'm in those spaces, I am there, I'm focused, and I'm invested, and really just have a generally well rounded life. So, what success looks like to me is having a well-rounded life and being able to have fun and be successful and be present in each and every one of those things.
Yeah, it's important. And you mentioned your law firm, and just out of curiosity, I'd be curious if you have a specific legacy that you want to leave in your community, um, or if that's something that you kind of actively work towards right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest thing, because, before I went to law school, I was very involved in public service. And so I kind of had this conviction when I started my own law firm, which is, what connection are you going to keep to the community? Since it was something that I was, or is something that I'm very passionate about. And so for me, I do my best to stay involved in the community. And that's, through multiple avenues, pageantry. I try to probably do maybe about 4 or 5 appearances in the community a month as Miss Washington. We also do things where we offer workshops, know your rights clinics, things of that nature, just like general legal knowledge that you can give the community, in addition to general knowledge through like social media, TikTok posts, Instagram posts, things of that nature. Anytime I can get involved, I do. Of course, there are limits to that, but I do my best. But what I really want people to remember about me in terms of a legacy is how compassionate and genuine I am, and how I really strive to remain connected and do what I can to give back to the community that invested in me. I think community work is extremely important, because of my background. I had a lot of support from the community in my career as early as I can remember, probably about 15 and up. And even when I, opened my law firm, I saw kind of that same support come back to my community of people just being very supportive of, me opening my firm and things of that nature. Um, I also want people to remember me as being down to earth, and just being very approachable. And I've had these talks with some of my clients, and, time and time again, what I hear is, I love you as an attorney. And the reason why we chose you is because you're not judgmental. You're easy to talk to. You're very compassionate, even though you may not have experience what I'm talking to you about. You hear me out, right? And a lot of the time with attorneys, we want to get down to brass tacks, like, hey, what happened? What's the legal issue? But sometimes people just want to be heard, um, even if it might not be relevant to your case. And I think that's equally as important as doing the lawyer thing, the typical lawyer thing.
For sure, for sure. Now, what's next for you? As far as yeah, you've got a lot of things going on, but
Yeah, I have a lot of things going on. I would probably say the biggest thing is the Miss Queen of the World competition, which is going to be in New York in April of next year. So that is the next big thing on the horizon that I'm preparing for now. I have some cool appearances coming up that I'm excited about as well. But yeah, I would say the biggest thing right now is now in terms of pageantry is the Miss Queen of the World pageant. On the lawyer side of things, I have a couple of trials coming up, which is a different kind of excitement. But yeah, I'm very excited for the next few months.
Yeah, my goodness. Sounds like a lot of really amazing things. But if you could give one piece of advice to women that are, wanting to do many different things or multi-passionate, multifaceted, you know, but maybe they feel conflicted on choosing one thing versus another, what kind of advice would you give them?
I would say that if you're passionate about it and that if you could swing doing it, which is important because sometimes we overload ourselves when we take on all these obligations, right? If you're passionate about it and if you can swing it, I would say absolutely do it. Do not limit yourself. A lot of the time, um, generally, but more specifically as women, people try to place their own expectations and their own limitations on us regarding what we can or cannot do. And I think myself, like so many other amazing women that I know, have done it all, right? And have been great at doing it and have enjoyed it and live very full lives. Even if you do it and you decide it's not your thing and you fail at it, you just know that that's not your thing, right? Move on to something else. There's no harm in trying. So that would be my biggest piece of advice.
Mm, love it. Now, if people wanted to connect more with you, learn more about who you are, what you do, where can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram or TikTok, and my handle is Miss Washington USA.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here and for, sharing a little glimmer of your wisdom with us. And listeners, of course, thank you for being here as well. And Elle, I hope that people can connect with you and that good luck with everything going on, especially in April.
Thank you so much, Shannon. I appreciate you having me here.
Yeah. Talk to you